Welcome to our documentary, Ethiopia's Crisis Under Abiy from Hope to Despair. Before we delve into the rise of Abiy Ahmed, let us first understand the historical backdrop against which his leadership unfolds. Ethiopia, known for its ancient civilizations and as the only African nation never colonized, has experienced a complex history of imperial rule, Marxist revolution, and ethnic federalism. This history has sown deep seeds of ethnic and political tension. The fall of Emperor Haile Selassie in 1974 marked the beginning of a radical shift as the Derg, a communist military junta, took power, leading to decades of turmoil, including the infamous Red Terror campaign. In 1991, the Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front, led by the Tigray People's Liberation Front, overthrew the Derg, establishing a federal system purportedly based on ethnic lines. This system, while aiming to provide autonomy to various ethnic groups, often fueled inter-ethnic conflicts and was manipulated for political dominance. As we approach the era of Abiy Ahmed, it's crucial to recognize these layers of historical grievances and the expectations placed upon him. Abiy's ascent in 2018 was seen not just as a change in leadership, but as a potential end to decades of repression and ethnic division. Stay with us as we explore how these historical pressures and hopes for democratic reform set the stage for both the achievements and challenges of his tenure. In April 2018, Abiy Ahmed ascended to power as Ethiopia's prime minister, sparking widespread optimism and hope for change in a nation long plagued by political repression and ethnic tensions. At just 42 years old, Abiy represented a new generation of leadership, promising reforms and reconciliation in a country deeply divided along ethnic lines. Under the regime of the Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front, EPRDF, led by the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, Ethiopia had experienced decades of authoritarian rule. The EPRDF's grip on power was characterized by political repression, human rights abuses, and economic mismanagement, leaving many Ethiopians disillusioned and disenfranchised. However, Abiy's rise to power offered a glimmer of hope for change. A member of the Oromo ethnic group, Ethiopia's largest ethnic community, Abiy's appointment as prime minister signaled a significant departure from the TPLF-dominated leadership of the past. His rhetoric of unity, reconciliation, and reform resonated with Ethiopians across ethnic lines, who saw in him a leader capable of steering the country towards a brighter future. Initially, Abiy's reforms appeared promising. He released thousands of political prisoners, lifted restrictions on the media, and embarked on a series of bold initiatives aimed at liberalizing Ethiopia's economy and political landscape. His efforts to make peace with neighboring Eritrea, ending a decades-long conflict, earned him international acclaim and culminated in the Nobel Peace Prize in 2019. However, as the euphoria of Abiy's early days in office began to wane, cracks in his leadership started to emerge. His decision to dissolve the EPRDF, the long-standing ruling coalition, and establish the Prosperity Party raised concerns about the consolidation of power and the sidelining of opposition voices. While Abiy's intentions may have been to foster unity and streamline governance, the move alienated key political allies and exacerbated existing ethnic tensions. Furthermore, Abiy's handling of internal dissent and his approach to governance drew criticism from human rights groups and political opponents. Despite his initial promises of inclusivity and reform, Abiy's administration increasingly resorted to authoritarian tactics to suppress dissent, leading to accusations of human rights abuses and political persecution. As Ethiopia approached its national elections, scheduled for 2020 but ultimately postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the country found itself at a crossroads. The initial optimism surrounding Abiy's leadership had given way to disillusionment and uncertainty as Ethiopians grappled with the realities of political instability, ethnic tensions, and economic challenges. Abiy Ahmed's ascent to power initially sparked hope for peace and stability in Ethiopia, a country with a history marred by internal conflict and ethnic tensions. However, as his tenure progressed, Ethiopia's transition under Abiy proved to be tumultuous. marked by the erosion of peace and the resurgence of violence. The Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front, EPRDF, led by the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, had long been seen as the guarantor of stability in Ethiopia despite its authoritarian tendencies. The coalition's complex power-sharing arrangement, which divided Ethiopia along ethnic lines, provided a semblance of order in a country characterized by ethnic diversity and competing interests. Abiy's decision to dissolve the EPRDF and establish the Prosperity Party in its place disrupted this delicate balance of power, unleashing a wave of political upheaval and ethnic tensions. While Abiy's intentions may have been to foster unity and streamline governance, the move alienated key political allies, particularly the TPLF, which viewed the restructuring as a threat to its influence and autonomy. The dissolution of the EPRDF laid the groundwork for the resurgence of ethno-nationalist sentiments and inter-ethnic conflicts that had long simmered beneath the surface. With the erosion of the EPRDF's centralized authority, regional and ethnic rivalries began to escalate, fueled by competition for resources, political power, and representation. The Tigray region, home to the TPLF and a key power base of the former EPRDF, emerged as a focal point of resistance to Abiy's centralizing agenda. Tensions between the federal government and the TPLF intensified, culminating in the Tigray War in November 2020, following the TPLF's decision to proceed with regional elections deemed illegal by the federal government. The conflict in Tigray quickly escalated into a full-scale humanitarian crisis, with reports of widespread atrocities, human rights abuses, and mass displacement. Eritrea, a traditional enemy of the TPLF, entered the fray in support of Abiy's government, further complicating the regional dynamics and exacerbating the suffering of civilians caught in the crossfire. As the war in Tigray raged on, Ethiopia's internal stability continued to unravel, with violence spreading to other regions and ethnic groups. Intercommunal clashes, political assassinations, and acts of ethnic violence became increasingly common, underscoring the fragility of Ethiopia's transition under Abiy and the failure to address underlying grievances and tensions. In the face of mounting challenges, Abiy's administration struggled to maintain control and restore order, resorting to increasingly authoritarian tactics to quell dissent and suppress opposition. The erosion of peace under Abiy's leadership not only threatened Ethiopia's stability, but also jeopardized the country's future as a multi-ethnic federation. As Ethiopia grappled with the consequences of Abiy's centralizing agenda and the resurgence of violence, the promise of peace and unity that accompanied his rise to power seemed increasingly distant.